What's up, everybody? Speaker Guy Yake here, and I gotta start this video by saying, I fucking love me some MLB The Show. But I understand how completely frustrating it can be, especially if you're somebody who is brand new to the series or an Xbox player like myself who only recently got access to it a number of years ago. Now, there are a lot of top-level players who have been playing MLB The Show for many, many years, top-level content creators who understand this is always a big issue as well, and they have some great videos out there to try and take you to the tippy top of the ranked ladder. However, here's the thing, I'm not really that good at MLB The Show. I'm not somebody who sits at the top of the ranked seasons board. I'm not somebody who can go out there and crush you and mercy rule you in an inning or two, but I still love to play the game. In fact, I'd say most of my time is spent in the single player modes in Diamond Dynasty. Even then, it can still be extremely frustrating when your progress is slowed or even outright halted because you just can't seem to consistently hit the baseball. So I figured I would give my perspective as somebody who dabbled a little bit in MLB 21 and 22 when it hit Game Pass. After I got so frustrated at just how bad I was at the game, it felt impossible to progress until coming back in MLB The Show 23, where I logged probably more hours than in any other game that year. So with all of that said, here are my 4 tips that you can use to get immediately better at MLB The Show 24 and beyond. Number 1 is, of course, find the settings that work the best, but work the best for you specifically. This is not just a problem in MLB The Show, but really in any competitive game that people want to get better at and want to enjoy more. A lot of the times they'll go searching for instant results or instant gratifications, or think just flipping a few sliders or settings in the menu will make them an elite level player. If you're looking for that kind of solution, you may want to click to a different video, because I promise you, no matter what anybody tells you, there is no one golden setting for everybody that plays the game. Now, people can give you their recommendations and what they use, but you have to keep in mind it's not going to immediately make you as good as them, or really even close. What you should instead strive for is experimentation. Play around with the settings and try and find out what does work best for you. I myself was guilty of going on YouTube and going, best instant results for better batting in MLB The Show. And even now, you'll get a lot of mixed results and people telling you that this is the best and this is the best. But what is actually the best is what you think is the best. What feels comfortable to you? When you play the game, what settings make you go, okay, this feels right. This would be a good place to start, because that's all you're choosing, a starter. If you equip somebody else's settings that work for them and you use that as a starting base, your ceiling is limited, because even though you can improve so much, there's still a cap on it, because it's just not comfortable to you at the end of the day. And what's going to end up happening, even though you improve, you're going to go, no, I got to change this. And then you're basically starting from square one in terms of improvement on those settings. With all that said, I'm going to dive in and give you my settings right now. Now, you can quickly access your settings in the top right corner of the main menu here. Once you go in there, you're going to want to go to settings, gameplay first. I usually keep everything on dynamic just to get things started, but the control is really what you're looking for. Now, in control, I know I said that settings are all subjective and you need to find what is the most comfortable for you. However, I will say swing input should stay on buttons. I did use analog flick for a little while. It just felt more natural to me. Playing the MLB games that I played back in the day, I liked using the right stick for control. However, this game just doesn't do it very well in my opinion. So I think it's easiest to stay with A for normal swing, B for contact swing, and X for a power swing. As for hitting interface, your highest skill ceiling will be on zone. I know some people like to play directional or simply timing because they don't like the PCI. And if that's you and that's where you get the most enjoyment out of the game, by all means. But I think in terms of improving more and getting better at the game, zone is the way to go. But again, depends on the person. And of course, a part of the zone hitting interface is going to introduce the PCI, the plate coverage indicator, which was introduced a number of years ago and has really changed how hitting has been done in MLB The Show. Some people, especially the higher level players, like to use the PCI anchor to predict where pitches may go or pick up on a tendency or a cue that their opponent is using. However, for me, I keep it on batter. I don't like it changing every single pitch. Every single batter, it will default back back to the center with this. However, you can readjust after you learn that pitcher's tendencies if you like. The anchor dots stay on, of course, in case you like that option. I like to keep them on even though I don't really use it. The option's there in case I ever want to change my mind. Now, the PCI visuals, the indicator, this is a big point of contention, and this is largely where I think you have a lot of freedom. It doesn't really matter what you pick as long as it's comfortable to you. Now, for me, last year, I actually switched to the bat indicator and turned off the inner and outer boxes. I think the inner and outer boxes, no matter what center you're using, can be a little confusing or unclear, and the bat makes it very clear. I mean, we're swinging a bat after all, and at the end of the day, it's going to show you the inside and outside of the bat, so you kind of get that anyway. So my personal preference is bat, none. I keep it white. I think a lot of people like to go like the first-person shooter route with their red dot, by changing it to a very vibrant color that would bounce off of the ball well, something like a bright green or a bright pink. However, for me, I think it works fine on white. My opacity is 60, keeps it from being too much in the way without it being invisible. 60 is the sweet spot, but 50, 70, again, whatever's comfortable to you. Now, in the camera, the hitting view, this is probably the setting I changed the most when I was trying to first improve and get my bearings. This is the one I would recommend finding first, actually. There's a lot of different options here, all the offsets, the fisheyes, catchers. You have a ton of options to play around with here. You can do this in practice as well to play around and actually see it in live action, what the different strike zones look like, what the different hitting views look like. For me personally, strike zone looks like this, and it's close enough. It's right up onto the plate without being too close, and gives me a very good idea of where the pitch is actually going to land at the end of the day. That's really it. A lot of the other things are strictly aesthetic. They are strictly for display or, you know, your difficulty style, any tutorial tips that you need on it. Really depends how new you are, but the rest of this stuff is all preference. I would leave it as default if you're trying to play as close to the online or basic experience as you can. The more you customize with the experiences you're going to get online, the more difficult it's going to be to adjust once you get to that point. Once you settle on your settings, please settle on your settings. As long as it's comfortable enough initially, if you keep switching your settings base all the time because you're thinking, well, if I just had better settings, I'd get more perfects. Unfortunately, I don't think that's the case, and you're actually making it harder on yourself to improve by constantly making your brain readjust to these new settings. Number 2, probably what I think is the most important aspect of improving as a batter in MLB The Show is not swinging the bat itself, it's focusing on your eye to predict where the pitches will go. This is not an easy task and is going to take a lot of repetition seeing the different pitches, especially how they're delivered by each pitcher as they come out of their hand. And that goes into a more advanced tip, I think, of knowing the ratings, the strengths, and the weaknesses of your opponent just as much as you do about your own lineup. Before I face any batter, the right trigger or R2 on PlayStation will give you kind of a breakdown of their arsenal and what you may be expecting from them before they even throw the first pitch. It's often okay to take pitches, especially early in the count. You don't want to get into a place where you're swinging at everything because that's only going to make the frustration worse. You're still learning seeing these pitches, and sometimes when you just buckle into, I gotta swing at this, you're actually missing the opportunity to learn why a pitch where it was, why it was chosen in the first place, and what you can do to better identify it next time. Once you get better at this and become more selective in the pitches that you're swinging at, you can instantly become better at holding yourself from swinging at these bad pitches, which often end up in ground outs or routine pop flies. So next time you come up in a 0-0 count, maybe take a pitch or two, see what the tendencies are, see how it looks coming out of his hand. Every pitcher almost has a different animation, and you shouldn't be expected to master all of these animations like the back of your hand, but with enough time and enough patience, you can at least get to a point where you can reliably predict where that ball is going to be before it even gets to the plate. Number 3, and this one should be obvious, practice. This is obviously a common one and especially recommended if you are switching to a new group of settings or cameras or anything like that. Now, a lot of people will tell you to head into the practice mode, put it on legendary, and look for certain pitches, and that is a good strategy if you already have the fundamentals down. But I found in trying that became a little bit too micro. It became a little bit too focused on a level above what I had already achieved. Remember, we're just trying to get to a competitive level before we think about climbing any kind of ranked ladders. pitches. And for me, most of that just came on playing the game. I spent a lot of time in Road to the Show in MLB 23, 20-year career just as a batter. And I don't say that because I think it's anything impressive. It's just a lot of time spent swinging the bat and naturally picking up on cues that you will see in all other game modes. Now, if it is specifically a slider or a knuckle curve or one of these off-speed pitches that's throwing you, absolutely head to practice, pick a pitcher that does it very well, put it on the highest difficulty, and just swing until you start getting the hang of where that ball is going to fall. No matter how you like to play, if you want to get specific, custom practice is an excellent place to go that can just get you a bunch of unlimited swings at the bat without sitting through load screens or getting in your own head. And that's right down here. If you scroll down on the menu, you can see it on the third section down all the way on the right, custom practice. Once we get into the mode itself, after you pick the teams that you want, you can go to practice type and switch yourself over to batting. Here is great because you can switch through any of the hitters that you want. Maybe there's a particular batter whose animation is throwing you off, or somebody that you wanted to pick on the lower end of the attribute ratings. That way you have inherently a tougher time to hit. On the pitcher's mound, this is where you can get really granular about what you would like to practice. You can find somebody who has that devastating pitch you can't seem to hit. How about Fott? He's got that 12-6 curve, and man, that always gets me. What you can do on the pitch frequency, turn everything else down except the 12-6 curve. You can even adjust to the location you want him to throw it. You're going online and getting a 12-6 curve and it's throwing it low and in every time. We can tell Fott to do that. And you can see now all the pitches he's going to throw are going to be low 12-seam curveballs. Personally, I prefer to play when you don't know what's coming, but if there is something that is really tripping you up, maybe you're a killer at fastballs, but you can't really hit the off-speed pitches. This can teach you more about the timing. This can teach you more about reading pitches. You can see he's not throwing it inside every single time. Sometimes he throws outside the strike zone. So this is a good opportunity to say, okay, what 12-6 is outside the strike zone and what 12-6 is inside the strike zone? As I mentioned, watching where the ball is going to be, where it could end up, is often the most impactful improvement that you're going to get in your game. And as I mentioned, this is a zero stakes environment. I can sit here and watch Zach Gallen throw me pitches all day long and not take a single swing. And personally, I'm gleaming a lot out of that. This will help you get a better idea of pitch trajectories. That way, as soon as that pitch comes out of his hand, you can get at least a decent idea of where it's going to end up. I find that most of my erroneous swings at pitches outside the strike zone are either under or above, not so much left and right. But regardless of what your preference is, you can see each pitch that we slow down here has its own unique trajectory from Zach Gallen because of the way he releases the ball. And of course, once you learn these trajectories, even if you go down in difficulty from Legend and work your way up, you still have the idea of what those trajectories look like. Even then, they'll be slowed down majorly on different difficulties. Custom practice is far from the only way to practice. As I mentioned, get a lot of swings in Road to the Show, even just playing the game in Diamond Dynasty. However, custom practice is probably the most common tip that you're going to get in terms of just taking swings, not getting frustrated, and having a no-stakes environment in which to do so. So I figured I'd mention it here because I do believe in it. So I highly recommend to practice. Keep ticking that difficulty up. If you stay on rookie or veteran, especially if you're in conquest mode all of the time, just to get those quick results. Once you get into higher level play, or you play it all online at that point, the timing is going to be so different from you on these pitch speeds, especially dealing with four-seamers and deadly sliders on the outside. A lot of these guys online already have 99 everything teams, and you're going to need to know how to hit the hardest level of play before you actually get there. And that leads into what I think is the most important part of getting started in improving your skills in MLB The Show. Give yourself allowance to suck. You're gonna suck. At the end of the day, everybody sucks when they try something new, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing. These YouTubers who have been playing the game for years and years and years can tell you all the settings they want, myself included. But at the end of the day, you have to be the one to put in the work. Take those swings. Go into practice mode. Throw in a YouTube video in the background that you like, a series, a Netflix series, Hulu, whatever your preferred streaming service. Head into practice, Road to the Show, Diamond Dynasty, and just play. Start focusing in on the pitch, like we mentioned in tip number 2 about your eye, and you will see steady improvement. When you won't see steady improvement is when you don't allow yourself the grace to suck, because all it's going to lead to is more frustration, more search for instant gratification, more ways that you can look to game the system by, oh, if I just equip these MLG Pro settings, I'll be just fine. Look, man, obviously I could load up the game and take swings in practice until I got enough perfects to chain them together in the final video, but that's not reality. That's not what's going to happen happen to you even when you're practicing. Hell, you could run in there and just have a good run of getting good timing, but not being on the ball with the PCI. You could get there with being on there with the PCI, but maybe your swings are just a little bit too late. At the end of the day, making more contact is still improvement than getting a perfect every time. It's an unreasonable goal, but I know it's what people want. You'll get there in the end, but you got to start somewhere. While we're on the topic of practicing, and on the topic of practicing, and you probably will see this pushed a lot of times if you watch more quick tip videos like I did come across a tip that said to invest in these. They are Control Freak joystick. They are easier to control on your thumb than the normal ones, even on an Elite controller. I am not paid by any means or sponsored by Control Freak in order to do this. However, I do highly recommend them. I think they help me a lot. I'll put a link in the description at the bottom. Apologies, I have no promo code. Maybe go check out one of the other YouTube videos. A lot of those guys are sponsored by Control Freak and could probably get you a little bit of a discount. Even if they can't, it's really not a steep price. You're looking at 20 to 24 bucks, and it gives you a lot of set of them. So maybe it helps, maybe it doesn't. Just some food for thought. That's all I got. Practice, be kind to yourself, focus on the trajectory of the pitches, and find settings that work for you. Look, I said it at the beginning of the video. I am not great at this game. Any of these other YouTubers, any of these other players, hell, I could boot up Diamond Dynasty right now and probably get my ass kicked in a quick play match. And that's okay. But if you're already competent at the game and far beyond the beginner level stuff that I'm talking about here, and you want to learn about some more advanced stuff, there are some great videos online that can help you with that. Like here and here for advanced pitching, or here and here for advanced batting. So go check them out, and it could definitely raise your skill if you're already at this competent point. But that's all I've got. I felt a more relatable approach may have been easier to take in. And remember, you don't have to start at #1 in the competitive ranks. Allow yourself the grace to climb those ranks and get better and better, and make sure that you're practicing throughout and not setting your expectations way too high. And at the end of the day, man, MLB The Show 24 is a super fun game. So that's it. Sit down, enjoy it if you enjoy the game, and good luck in all your diamond rips this year. Peace out.